Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us wherever you are listening while we're broadcasting from 5,280 feet. And here's the thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Whatever way you're watching or listening, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or any of the other podcast channels, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High tick. And of course, dial in being at Mile High 12 in September of 2024, September 26th weekend, 2024. You want to be at higher ground with us. And today on our podcast episode, I am so overjoyed and thrilled to be spending time with really, truly the extraordinary Mackenzie McNamara. I have such admiration, joy, and just love for this person, how she shows up as a soul. She attended Mile High 2 years ago and then entered the speaker contest. Our team selected her, and she just rocked it from stage. So we're talking about her, chiropractic, her life, being at Mile High, how you can be extraordinary chiropractor, impact more lives. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Mackenzie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have fun. We might laugh, we might cry, and we're going to entertain. So,
yes.
And really, Dr. Mackenzie is a paradigm shifter. She's on the advisory board of Kentuckiana Children's Center. In addition to her practice, she's taught in the Food Enzyme Institute. She's held her own holistic family practice seminars at Logan. She's a graduate of Logan. Really, I know there's an incredible future of impacting more lives. So now, first thing, Dr. Mackenzie, with you, tell me a little bit about, so people get to know you better, about your journey, how you found your way to chiropractic.
It is an interesting story because it was very divinely inspired, you could say. So I have been getting adjusted for a long time. My dad is a dentist and his office is right next door to a chiropractor. So I had gotten adjusted even as a child, but I never really got it. And so I went to school and I was going to be a dentist like my dad, and I was passing out when I would see blood. So that wasn't going to work. So I actually wasn't sure what to do after I graduated with my bachelor's in biology. And my mom said, well, Logan, I live in Missouri, Logan College of Chiropractic is like in our backyard. Why don't we just go do a tour? So we went and did that. And that was on a weekend. I started school the next Tuesday. They just happened to be starting a new trimester. So it was just one of those things where I just got funneled in at the right time. And once I was there, I realized why everything had happened the way it did up until that point for me to be in chiropractic school, because when I finally got the philosophy, I took it and ran with it and never looked back.
Well, that's really cool. And here's the thing that happens so much. I hear so frequently people, they may use various words for it, but being divinely inspired to discover chiropractic as a profession, and why do you love chiropractic as a profession so much?
I love it because I talked about this at Mile High. Chiropractic totally saved my life. And I was a student at Logan, and we had some really great philosophy teachers at Logan. Dr. Montgomery was my philosophy teacher and my basic instructor. He's amazing.
Great. He's phenomenal.
Phenomenal. But I was so medicalized in my thinking that I was on multiple pharmaceuticals. I had been medicated for like 10 years since I hit puberty, basically. I was super sick and I just didn't understand the philosophy, even though he taught it. I couldn't receive it yet. And then it took me getting really, really sick from the side effects of these medications to me having like a physical breakdown. And I was in a seminar and there was a chiropractor who was describing chiropractic philosophy, and it finally clicked for me about halfway through school. And that's when I changed my life and got my health back. And what's interesting is this chiropractor never adjusted me.
Oh.
Yeah. So he just kind of opened the door with the philosophy. And so he gave me hope, because I really believed I'd be sick and medicated the rest of my life. Like I just thought that was it for me. And I'd always be having to do the symptom management game, even within chiropractic school. And I was almost 200 pounds. Like I was having kidney and liver issues. I mean, it was awful. I was having side effects from the prescriptions. Like I was having narcolepsy. So I would have sleep attacks in the back of the physiology classroom. And so they put me on like a ADD drug, saying that, well, maybe you have an attention issue. And I was like, no. So it was just like the train was going off the tracks. And so I finally figured out there was a different possibility. So he gave me the gift of hope. And then I came and took action with chiropractors and
Wow.
acupuncture at home. And I got off all the medications. That was October of 2011. So that's 12 years, I think. 12 years I've been medication free. So it just changed my life so much that once that happened.
That's amazing. And that happens so frequently. That person have a chiropractic experience that then changes the direction of their life and they become a chiropractor. I mean, I know that's what happened with me. So now I want to ask you, you came to Mile High 2 years ago as an attendee. And I don't remember what spurred you to attend, but you were there. And what did you think when you attended the first time?
I wanted to be there because I knew that I needed the philosophy and I needed to be around a big group of people who thought and feel like I do about chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's groups of us at Logan that people I graduate with that think like that, but on the whole, it's a little bit of a different atmosphere than Mile High is. And so I needed to be immersed in it. So that's part of why I went last year, just so I could be immersed in that. And then I kind of realized, I think I said to somebody like, oh my gosh, this feels like home.
You did. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah. And so that was really powerful for me. So I got exactly what I needed last year. I told you when we were prepping for this that I cried a lot last year. Because it just like opened my heart up. You know what I mean? When you feel like you're not so alone.
Mm-hmm.
Realize there's so many people who are on a mission like you are.
Right.
And just as on fire. So it just kind of like lit me up to keep going.
Yep. And then you decide to apply for the speaker contest, which, I got to tell you, honestly, the first time we did that, I was nervous because I was like, are people going to think like we need speakers or something? But I saw like TED Talk things where people, entered to be in a TED Talk thing. I was like, wow, what if we did that? And that was actually why I got the idea to do it. And to me, honestly, it's one of my favorite things about the weekend, because you see these people that many haven't spoken anywhere before. I know you have, but many haven't. And they're so excited and their passion comes through phenomenally. So how was it for you entering that speaker entry contest?
I think the contest is brilliant because I think it builds excitement. And it feels exciting, even if you don't know if you're going to get it or not. And it's such good practice to, start putting your message out there and, to build your courage up, which I think is really important. So I was really excited to do it. I was really nervous too, to be honest, because, you have to submit the video and, like your personal why. And as I was doing it, I realized how powerful it is just as an exercise all on its own.
True.
Do that and kind of organize, like, what am I about authentically as a chiropractor? So I thought that was really brilliant too. And I was just so excited when you called me. I was like, are you for real?
And you did phenomenal. You were phenomenal presenting. I knew you were going to be the team that selected you, knew you were going to be. What was it like speaking?
It was so fun. I love being on stage. Somehow I feel really comfortable on stage, even though that's not, I'm an introvert. So I'm not sure how that works. But when you're around, chiropractors are my favorite people. And when you're in a room full of chiropractors whose hearts are on fire for service, like it is at Mile High, like the energy of that feeds your soul in a way that almost nothing else does. So being on stage and getting to share in that way with people and like looking from the stage at everybody and getting to connect with them was so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned Dr. Montgomery and his influence on you at Logan. Why is chiropractic philosophy important?
I think our philosophy determines the types of questions that we ask. And so if we have a chiropractic philosophy that's rooted in the principles versus philosophy that's rooted more in allopathic paradigms, it changes the questions we ask and the answers we get and how we're able to help people. So I think philosophy is so important. And in some of the groups at Logan, I love Logan, but what I noticed is there are some groups that really put philosophy down just in general.
Right.
And they don't even realize that everyone has a philosophy they're living by, whether you realize it or not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so
Exactly.
we get to choose, and so if I can choose a philosophy and a paradigm that fits with the design of my, actual body and brings more life to me and to the people around me, of course, that makes a whole lot of sense for me.
Great.
So,
Great.
yeah.
Great. And then what was it like now, putting philosophy into practice?
That's such a good question. I went into practice as a student into my own practice pretty much right away, and so it kind of like the rubber met the road for me philosophically. So it was really interesting because for me it was really easy to build my practice because I think I had such congruence with what I knew and believed in my philosophy, and then with how I was talking to my practice members, and then I was delivering really good chiropractic adjustments. And so everything just kind of flowed in this really positive feedback loop. And so the philosophy really was the foundation, because if you can help somebody love and understand their body, so it's not this foreign thing that's going wrong, and instead we
Right.
can talk about the body for how amazing it is, it changes the conversation and people start to come in for wellness naturally, because that's really what we're doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. So true, and so important. And you work with children in your practice. Tell us a little bit about that focus. Was that something you always wanted to do?
I actually was terrified of adjusting children.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so when I graduated from chiropractic school, I had decided that I would refer every child out of my practice.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was extreme. And I had a friend, I was like, I know who I'll send them to. This is fine. And then I had my first daughter, and she needed a lot of chiropractic care. And we had a home birth with her. And it was like, if birth could be easy, it was an easy type of birth. But she had so much dural strain and tension that she required a lot of care. And so my chiropractic pediatric friends were like, you just need to learn to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay. And I kind of started trying. And then one of my friend's sons had a drowning accident.
Mm-hmm.
And when they pulled him out of the water, they suspect he was in for about 40 minutes. They couldn't get a heartbeat. He wasn't breathing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really awful. And they sent out a text that just said, Charlie drowned, please pray. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And the paramedics came and they couldn't get, any of the vitals going. And then their last try, they were able to get a heartbeat. He got flown to Children's Hospital, and they kept saying he wouldn't survive, but he kept surviving. And about 6 weeks from the accident, he was alive, and they knew he was going to keep living, but he had to have all kinds of medications and was on feeding tubes. And they were basically told he would be in a mostly vegetative state for the rest of his life.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was only 18 months old. So it was so tragic. And so I talked to my friend, and I just said, well, do you want to try chiropractic? And at the time, I didn't want to adjust kids. And so I recruited 2 of my ICPA trained friends, and the 3 of us went to meet Charlie and his mom, and we assessed and adjusted him, and we witnessed a miracle right before our eyes. And he started, he came out of his, he was really, when there's that severe brain damage, they're in that decorticate or decerebrate posturing, and he came
Right.
adjustment.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay. And I started going to every pediatric seminar that I could find. I was like, this is what I need to do. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
And then did you shift your practice?
I did. So it happened slowly. But yeah, my practice shifted to, just the percentage of pediatrics and perinatal just kept going higher and higher and higher. Yeah, so I'm probably about 50 to 60% pediatrics and perinatal, and then I'm doing just some quantum energetic work and family practice for the rest of the families.
Phenomenal. Really exciting. So how do you keep yourself focused on purpose, on mission with, the noise in the world that we all have?
Yeah, I I think we all fall into forgetfulness sometimes, but I think the more I remember, the more I'm getting adjusted, the better I do with it, because it helps me realize how powerful the adjustments are. And I think I also, there's a parable about people, like construction workers, and there's a construction worker, several of them building this building. And someone was asking them, one of the guy was in a really good mood and the others were just like toiling to get their paycheck. And the guy that was really happy, they're like, why are you so happy? Like, you're just grinding, doing this work, building this building. He's like, yeah, it's a church. I'm building a house of God. How could I not be joyful about this?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Wow.
everybody else was just doing the work. And so that's how I feel about when I'm in practice, is I remember that chiropractic's not just about the physicality, it's about where spirit meets matter, the physical body and the spiritual body come together.
Right.
And when I look at it like that, it's like you're touching people's souls and connecting things every adjustment. And so that's such a high calling that we get to be a part of.
Wow. And that's true. Sometimes you can it's very easy to have yourself distracted, especially in the world today,
Yeah.
and there's there's no shortage of distractions, but there's also no shortage of spines distorted that really need you to be focused and taking care of people. So and that is really why you have to stand out and be bold in what you do. How do you help fuel having courage around the principle and our philosophy and sharing your truth?
I actually have a funny story.
Okay. I like funny stories.
Yeah, I like meditating and stuff like that. So I tend to meditate at the end of the year, and kind of review everything that's happened and everything I've learned, and then just kind of set intentions for the coming year. So I was doing that, and I got this message that came in, and it said 2020 is going to be the year of perfect vision, and that we're entering the age of courage, the age of the heart. And so I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Now, of course, that was in 2019 in December.
Remind me, I've got to say something about that. Keep going, but I have to say something about that in Vision in 2020 when you're done. So keep going.
Yeah, I love that. And so, of course, I had no idea what that perfect vision would actually entail for all of us because it's been so crazy. But I think in some ways it did bring better vision, because it really pulled what people were hiding behind away. So we could really see clearly, like, that tension really gave us a clear view of what's happening behind the scenes and in our own hearts. Like, what is really driving us? Are we going to succumb to the fear programming, or is there a higher calling that we all have to kind of be in the light of truth and trust the body like we say we do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so for me, like, the courage journey really started with that message, and since then I spoke at our, the St. Louis County Council meeting, and we got a lot of threats after that. But they don't threaten you unless you're right over the target. So that's a good sign.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, I agree. Yeah.
So, but I think courage, it's not just about being brave. I think courage really, it comes from the French core for heart. And so it's how can we authentically come from our heart space and stay open even when things are chaotic and crazy around us, and keep shining that light, like, from our hearts and who we are and the truth that we know, and do that even in the midst of the chaos. And I think that's how we get through this.
That's beautiful. So here's the funny story I have.
Okay.
Which is, Rochelle, I had a health emergency back in 2018, and 2017, 2018, 2019, Rochelle had a very intense travel schedule, like lots of teaching. And in 2019, the end of the year, she was at a level of, we need to not do so much travel. And she bought she bought a sign to hang up that she saw in a store to hang up in our kitchen. And she put it up January 1st of 2020, and it said, "Let's stay home."
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Is that wild?
Yeah. And like, when it was the peak of the lockdown stuff, our daughter was like, "We have to take this down because it's depressing."
You take it down?
Yeah.
Happening anyway. We don't need the reminder.
It was exciting for a little bit in January and February, but then when she was like, we took it down, and Rochelle put it away in a cabinet.
Yeah, it's interesting how that kind of things circle back like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Really. And, here's the thing, her doing that was part of, wanting to fill our own cup because we were really pushing itself and to a degree getting burnout, and burnout is real. I had done something like 30 live events in 1 year, which is like too many. It's a lot of weekends. So, for you, how do you fill your own cup to serve?
Yeah, I used to think I had such a good handle on that. And then I became a single parent at the beginning of the pandemic. And so all that hit me at once. And I realized I really need to be better and figure out a way to nourish myself. So I did hire a coach because I needed somebody to be accountable to, because otherwise I was just not able to meet myself where I wanted to. But I also, for me, the things that help the most is to have daily practices
Mm-hmm.
and a really strong intention and vision of where I want to go and how I want to show up and how I want to feel. So not just like the nuts and bolts of what do I want, but how do I want to feel while I'm doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that guides me a little more strongly than the actual like material thing that I want, or, whatever the goal is.
That's so important. That's so important. And is there something to spring more on that? Is there something that you often want to feel when you're in your office or when you're doing things relative to chiropractic?
Yeah, what I have said when I drive into my practice, I say it pretty much every morning since I started my practice. So that was like almost 10 years ago. I just ask that I be a beacon of love, light, and healing for the people that I'm serving, and that my light shines as far as God will take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that the other thing that I think is really powerful for me is when I incorporate movement into my daily practices, not necessarily exercise, but I'll do a meditation where I have like an energy ball in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just kind of meditate on that. But what's helpful for me is that it's a hands-on practice. And so that helps me get my focus into my hands, not just, my mental state with what I'm intending, but to bring it into my body and then into my hands so I can, share that with other people.
Right. And that's outstanding. So now you are you involved with the retreat coming up soon?
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is one of the other parts of my healing that's been really powerful is, having these daily practices and stuff it's so helpful and important, and the intention and your vision and your mission. But what I was missing is that we're not meant to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of what the nourishment is for me with going to Mile High, is being around so many other people and that sense of belonging with other chiropractors. And so I realized like my personal healing kind of hit a limit because I was doing it alone for the most part. And so then I realized I need to heal in community
Ah,
and to be in belonging with other people, especially people who think and feel like I do about a lot of the things that have been going on lately. So yeah, so I've been going to retreats, and I'm actually hosting a retreat in Tulum. We're calling it
wow.
yeah, I'm so excited. We're doing it with Dr. Courtney and her Wander Learn program. And so it's called Love Heals, and we're going to be doing quantum healing on the beach, essentially, and just kind of being in community with each other. Because I'm realizing how important that is, just to be with each other, especially with how isolated we've been over the last few years.
Wow, that's super exciting. I got to tell you, when I put on Mile High the first year or two, I just wanted to have the best speakers. I had a chiropractic message that I wanted people to hear. That's what I thought. I had the best speakers I could get, and I wanted to have a certain voice and vibe and message for chiropractors that I thought was missing, or at least missing in our area of the country, and wanted people to get attracted to it, like into a vortex. What I didn't know is something that you just said, which I didn't realize, that people wanted to be in community. That was but after the first couple, what they said most often was not that the speakers were stellar, and they were pretty darn good, but it was, or that the lineup was the best. The people, like, they appreciated that, but they really liked the energy of the people, the connection, that they felt like family, it felt like home, like even what you just said, which is what you're saying relative to your program in Tulum.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. We need
Right.
fun. We need fun and play. You know, like everybody at Mile High is so brilliant. You can just feel it in the room, you know? And so I do think so much of like the value isn't just what we're saying, but it's how we feel.
Right. Right.
Receiving it and being with each other. And I mean, it is like magical for real.
Right. Exactly. And I hadn't thought about that. So I'm so glad you're doing it. And what's the name of the retreat?
It's called Love Heals. It's
Okay.
February 7th through the 11th. So
Excellent.
on the beach, and then we've got some really cool excursions like the cenote swims, and we're going to do a sweat lodge. It's going to be really amazing.
Oh, wow. And how do people find out more?
I think I gave you, there's a link that'll be linked, but they can go to the WanderLearn website, and it's the Love Heals retreat. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I think we have 4 or 5 spots left, and we're doing continuing ed for chiropractors also. So you can get 6.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we'll put the link for it in the notes along with this. Absolutely. And that's so super exciting. And it's going to be in Tulum. So you said February 7th to 11th.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. And 6 hours of CE.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be amazing.
So you can get CE on the beach.
That's the way we like it.
You mean better than behind a computer?
Yes. In nature. I mean, does it get better than that? I don't know. We're going to be station free because I'm going to be adjusting people. So it's going to be amazing.
That's great. So is there anything in particular like that you want people to learn from you?
Yeah, I think I've taught hundreds of hours of continuing education in chiropractic and for other health practitioners. And I love it. And I think it's so important. But I think the most important thing, and what I'd want somebody to take away from, you know, learning from me the most, is how important it is for us to like be in our heart space and to share from that space, and how important not just the chiropractic technique is, but how important chiropractors are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so chiropractic can't go on without us. And so I think what I hope people get from me is the inspiration to be who they are and to kind of tap into their authentic chiropractic calling, because everyone's is going to be different, you know. And sometimes at seminars, we get this like big fire hose of inspiration about like chiropractic and miracle stories. And I can see people, you know, like feeling like, well, I'm not enough to be able to do that, or I don't know that technique, or I have to do X, Y, and Z to be able to do it. But really, everybody already has what they need. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's just kind of stepping into your own courage and realizing like, I just need to reach out to this person or contact this practice member, in the ways that we love each other and our practice members, how that exponentially grows over time.
Excellent. Excellent. And you know, tell us about what's your main goal in speaking to chiropractors and chiropractic in the chiropractic community?
Yeah. So right now my main goal is to like spread the chiropractic love. That's genuinely what it is.
Well, is that why it's Love Heals Retreat?
That's right. It is actually, because I realize how powerful that is. And like when we connect to that energy, you can call it love, or like if you get to like the innate of innate, right? Mm-hmm. Of the intelligence within your system. Like when you really realize like how miraculous it is that we're living and breathing, and the connections that happen in our body, and how chiropractic is about like the spiritual expression, physical, emotional, all of it, you know, and how we express life. As chiropractors, the gift we have to share with people is so big that I see in the students that I've had is they just need that fire to be lit in their hearts that they can do it. That chiropractic is enough. And I find they just need like that encouragement sometimes, and to realize that in being a chiropractor, they have everything they need if they just have the courage to step up and do it.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, really grateful to have you spend this time with us on the podcast. And I know that the people that heard you at Mile High and enjoyed you, and your colleagues in other areas and people that love you through your other things are going to love this particular episode. And I certainly hope to see you at Mile High attendance next year, along with everybody else. And, you know, I really, really appreciate the vibration that you put out in terms of your heart, soul, and focus in chiropractic. That's one of the things that from the moment we crossed paths, I noticed about you, and I know other people are going to like that about this particular episode. So I just want to tell you that we appreciate that here at Mile High.
Thank you. And thank you so much for seeing that and giving me space to share that with people from the stage. It's been so fun and so great.
Yes. Yes. Well, we look forward to seeing you in September next year. So
I'm already signed up.
Oh, did you? Okay. I didn't realize that. So,
Yeah.
and this retreat's going to be outstanding. And, is there any last thing that you want to share with people?
Just to remember how important you are as a chiropractor, and just to tap into your unique calling, and it will look different than everybody else's. And if you try to mimic the chiropractor on stage, you might miss what is meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so just trust that.
That's really true. And everyone, make sure you clear your calendar to be in September. Rise Up to Mile High in September, riseuptomilehigh.com. And we will say we'll see you in September. And keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic. Thank you again, Dr. Mackenzie.
Thanks for having me.